The pen in my hand was shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline. 40 floors above downtown, the city looked like a circuit board through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Cars glowed like pixels, streets traced in white and red. Across the table, 3 men in tailored suits studied me like I was some mysterious new software no one had fully tested yet. Ava Parker, the lead investor, said, tapping the thick stack of papers between us, "Once you sign, your company valuation locks at $40 million. Are you sure you're ready for this?" Ready? My phone buzzed on the conference table, lighting up with the name I'd spent years trying and failing to impress.
Dad.
I flipped the phone face down without answering and gave the investor a calm, practiced smile. "I've been ready for years," I said. He smiled back, scribbled his signature, and slid the pen toward me. As my fingers closed around it, my brain flashed back, not to some cute childhood memory, not to a motivational speech, but to a kitchen table, a cheap wooden chair, and a tiny cardboard box that changed everything. 1 week earlier. "Can you move your laptop, Ava? We're trying to have a normal dinner, not a tech convention." Dad's voice cut through the clacking of keys as I finished debugging a line of code. The kitchen smelled like roasted chicken and garlic bread, but I barely noticed. My world was the glowing screen in front of me, graphs updating in real time as users tested the beta version of our app. 2 minutes, I muttered. "I'm fixing a crash issue. It's important." Important? My sister Chloe snorted from across the table, swirling her soda with a straw like she was starring in some teen drama. "You mean your little pretend startup? You're 23 and still living in your old bedroom. What's important is getting a real job." I clenched my jaw and tried to stay focused. Another green checkmark popped onto my screen. Crash fixed. Finally. "Done," I said, closing the laptop and setting it carefully on the counter. "And it's not pretend, Chloe. We just passed 10,000 active users." 10,000 people wasting time on a phone app, she shot back.
Wow.
World-changing. Mom, Linda, slid a bowl of salad onto the table and gave me a tired half-smile. "Let's just eat, okay? It's been a long day." For them, maybe. For me, it had been electric. All afternoon I'd been on video calls with my co-founder, Jake Russell, and an angel investor out of San Francisco. They loved our product. They wanted a follow-up. They wanted numbers. They wanted a bigger presentation. And at the end of the call, the investor had said the words that had kept my heart racing ever since. "If your numbers hold and your projections are real, we're talking 8-figure territory, Ava." 8 figures. Not that I could say any of that here. Not that anyone at this table would believe me if I did. Dad sat down at the head of the table, shoulders square, still in his blue work shirt from the auto shop. He'd spent his entire life fixing other people's problems with his hands. To him, my work, lines of code, virtual dashboards, was invisible and therefore worthless. "We need to talk after dinner," he said, carving into the chicken. "Family talk." My stomach tightened. Family talk never meant anything good. "About what?" I asked carefully. "You'll find out," he muttered. "Let's eat first." We ate mostly in silence, the clink of forks on plates and Chloe's occasional laugh at something on her phone filling the gaps. Every few seconds, I checked my notifications under the table, new signups, new comments, new data. The app was alive, breathing, growing, and sitting there, under the weight of Dad's disapproval and Chloe's smug little smirks, I knew something with absolute clarity. If I didn't bet on myself, no one in this house ever would. When the plates were mostly empty, Dad cleared his throat. "Ava," he said, reaching into his pocket, "we've made a decision." He pulled out a small, plain white box and set it in the middle of the table like it was some kind of ceremony. My heart thudded. "What is that?" "Just open it," Chloe said, already grinning. I picked up the box. It was light. Too light. No weight, no sound when I shifted it in my hands. I slid off the lid. Inside was a folded slip of paper and a house key. I unfolded the paper, half expecting a joke, half praying it wasn't what I thought it was. It was worse. "Ava, we love you, but we can't keep supporting you forever. You've had time to figure things out. Starting next month, You'll be responsible for your own expenses. You need to move out and stand on your own 2 feet. Dad and Mom. Chloe burst out laughing. They actually did it, she said. Finally, reality check time. I stared at the words until they blurred. Move out. On my own. Like I'd been some kind of long-term house guest, not their daughter who'd spent years quietly building something she believed in. Mom couldn't meet my eyes. She just twisted her napkin in her hands, lips pressed tight. Dad folded his arms. We've talked about this, he said. You're smart, Ava, but this app thing, it's a fantasy. You need a real job, a real plan, not some dream on a screen. A fantasy? My voice came out soft, but there was a crackle under it. You think I've been playing all this time? You sit on that laptop all day, he snapped. No paycheck, no benefits, no stability. Your sister works, pays rent, helps out. You don't. We're not your bank. Chloe leaned back, satisfied. Maybe this will finally wake you up. Heat rushed to my face, but my eyes stayed dry. It wasn't like I hadn't imagined this moment, just not with a cheap little box and a note like I was being laid off from my own family. So that's it? I asked. You're done supporting me? Dad didn't flinch. We are. For a moment, no one moved. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. Somewhere in the house, the old clock in the hallway ticked like it was counting down. I set the note back inside the box and put the lid on top. My chair scraped softly as I stood. Okay, I said. That was all. No breakdown. No begging. No dramatic speech about how they'd regret this. Just one simple word that tasted like steel on my tongue. Mom finally looked at me, eyes shining. Ava, honey, it's fine, I said, even though it wasn't. You've made your decision. I get it. Chloe rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic. You'll be fine. Plenty of places are hiring. I picked up my laptop from the counter, slid it into my worn backpack, and zipped it shut. Every movement felt like I was unplugging a cable, disconnecting from the version of myself that still needed this house, this approval, this tiny world. I'll start looking for a place tonight, I said. You don't have to worry about me. Dad nodded like he'd just solved a problem. That's what we want. You're capable. You just need a push. Push. That word burned. I walked to the doorway, then paused and took one last look at the table. Dad's rigid jaw, Chloe's satisfied smirk, Mom's silent guilt. They thought this was the end of something. They had no idea it was the beginning. I stepped outside into the cool night air, closed the door gently behind me, and pulled out my phone. My thumb hovered over a single contact before I hit call. Jake answered on the second ring. Yo, Ava. You see the updated numbers? We're exploding. I saw, I said, staring up at the dark sky. And I've got news too. Good or bad? I thought of the box, the note, my sister's laugh, my dad's final tone. Both, I said. My family just cut me off. And I'm all in now. No backup plan. There was a pause, then Jake's voice sharpened with excitement. Then let's make this worth it, he said. I just got an email from that investor in San Francisco. He wants a full pitch meeting next week. He said, and I'm quoting, "This could be a $40 million play if we move fast." 40 million. I smiled into the darkness, feeling something new rise in my chest. Not fear, not doubt. Fuel. Schedule it, I said. A week from now, I want that meeting. As I headed down the street with everything I owned on my back, one thought echoed in my mind, steady and electric. They think they're done supporting me. They haven't even seen what I can do without them. The motel room wasn't glamorous. The carpet smelled like old air freshener, the lamp flickered every few minutes, and the mattress had the bounce of a cardboard box. But none of that mattered because my laptop was open, glowing like a portal to the life I was chasing. I sat cross-legged on the bed, sleeves rolled up, hair tied in a messy bun, energy buzzing through me like I was plugged into the wall. Jake appeared on video call, his blonde hair sticking up like he hadn't slept since Tuesday. Okay, he said, adjusting his headset. We have 1 week until the investor meeting. We need to polish everything. Numbers, UX, scalability, the launch roadmap, everything. Good, I said. I'm not holding back anymore. He raised an eyebrow. Something about you is different today. Because I finally stopped waiting for them to believe in me. Ah, he said gently. Family stuff. They kicked me out. Literally handed me a box like I'm being fired from my own life. He blinked.
Wow.
Harsh. I shrugged, even though the knot in my chest tightened. Whatever. It's fuel now. Jake's grin spread wide. Then let's build the kind of company that makes their jaws fall off. I cracked my knuckles. Let's do it. And just like that, we dove in. No distractions. No doubt. No safety net. The room filled with the sound of rapid typing, alerts, notification pings, and our voices volleying back and forth as the clock ticked past midnight, then 2, then 4. Every time exhaustion pulled at me, I remembered my sister's grin. Every time frustration hit, I heard my dad's flat voice saying I needed a real job. And every time self-doubt tried creeping in, I looked at the analytics climbing higher and higher. By sunrise, my eyes burned, but the dashboard looked beautiful. 10,000 users had become 13, then 14, then 15,000 active users. My heart did a somersault as I stared at the numbers. Jake whistled. You realize what this means, right? If we hit 20,000 before the meeting, our valuation jumps automatically. That's the goal, I said. We're not walking in asking for crumbs. He leaned forward. Ava, you didn't come this far to ask for anything. We're walking in like we own the room. Before I could answer, a knock rattled the motel door. I froze. Expecting someone? Jake asked. No, I whispered. My chest tightened. The motel wasn't in the best area. I reached for my backpack and slid my laptop inside just in case. When I cracked the door open, a familiar voice rushed in with the morning air.
Ava.
Mom's eyes were red, like she'd been crying all night. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me so she wouldn't see the stacked notebooks, cables, and energy drinks inside. Mom, what are you doing here? She wrung her hands, avoiding eye contact. Your father shouldn't have done things the way he did. And Chloe, she swallowed hard. Your sister shouldn't have laughed. I crossed my arms. You all agreed to it. She flinched. I didn't agree. I just didn't speak up. Silence stretched between us. Where are you staying? She asked quietly. Here, I said, nodding toward the motel. Here. Her voice cracked. Ava, honey, this place isn't safe. You should come home. I let out a breath that felt like a loaded memory. Mom, I can't go back. Not after what happened. She blinked fast, fighting tears. We didn't mean to push you away. But you did, I said softly. Her shoulders slumped. I brought something. She held out a small brown paper bag. Inside were 2 sandwiches, a bottle of water, and a folded note. I know you're strong, she whispered, but you're still my daughter. A part of my chest, the part still bruised, softened just enough for gratitude to pass through. Thank you, I said, my voice barely there. She reached up and cupped my cheek like she used to when I was little. Please be careful. I will. She hesitated. Are you chasing that app dream again? Again. As if it hadn't already become something real, something big, something that was seconds away from changing everything. Yes, I said firmly. And it's going to work. She gave a small, shaky nod. I hope so, Ava. I really do. When she walked away, I felt a strange mix of relief and fire. She cared, she always had, but she hadn't fought for me. Not when it mattered. I stepped back inside the motel room. Jake was still on the screen. That was your mom? Yeah, I said, setting the food aside. She wants me home. Jake gave me a knowing look. And you're not going?
No.
Not until I earn my place on my own terms. He grinned. Atta girl. We worked again until afternoon. My code flowed smoother than it had in months. It was like breaking free had unlocked something inside me, a version of myself I'd been too scared to unleash. At 3 p.m., Jake called out, Ava, Check the user counter. I turned and froze. 19,842 active users. Are we close?
Yeah, he laughed.
Very. 2 minutes later, it hit 20,004. I pressed my hand to my mouth, heart hammering. Ava, Jake said, voice suddenly thick with emotion. You just crossed the threshold. We're officially in the 8-figure bracket. I laughed. A real, breathless laugh that shook my entire body. Then my phone buzzed.
Dad.
Again. I didn't answer, but I stared at the screen as it lit up again.
And again.
Message after message.
Call me.
Where are you?
Come home right now.
This is important. I locked the phone. I think they found out, I said. Jake leaned in.
Good.
Let them see who they underestimated. I smirked. They're about to see a lot more than that. Because I wasn't done. Not even close. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that investor meeting not as someone who got pushed out, but as someone who finally stepped into her own power. And when the contract hit the table, my revenge would write itself. The next morning, I didn't wake up tired. I woke up charged. My whole body felt like it was running on electricity. Today wasn't just meeting day. Today was the day everything flipped. I stepped out of the motel, wearing the only blazer I owned, hair tied cleanly, laptop tucked under my arm. Jake met me outside the investor building downtown, polished glass, revolving doors, the kind of place that smelled like expensive ideas. You ready to own this? He asked. Born ready, I said, pushing through the doors. Inside, the conference room looked straight out of a tech magazine. Modern chairs, chrome table, panoramic view of the city. The investor, Grant Miller, mid-40s, sharp, confident, stood when we walked in. Ava Parker, he said, shaking my hand. We've been watching your numbers. Your user growth is impressive.
Thank you, I said.
And we're just getting started. Jake opened the laptop and projected the dashboard. Grant's eyebrows shot up instantly. You hit 20,000 active users before launch? He asked. 23,000 as of this morning, I said, trying not to grin. And we haven't spent $1 on marketing. That's rare. He sat forward. Let's go through your roadmap. So I did. Confident. Focused.
Fast.
No stuttering. No shrinking. No apologizing for dreaming too big. I walked him through scalability, user retention, long-term monetization, and our security architecture. Every slide strengthened his interest. Halfway through the pitch, Jake's phone buzzed. Then mine. Then again. I didn't need to check to know who it was.
Dad.
Probably Chloe, too. Good. They could wait. Grant stood, paced slowly, then finally turned back to us. I'm going to be direct, he said. This platform isn't just good.
It's a gold mine.
I'm prepared to invest, and with this valuation, your company sits at $40 million. My heartbeat felt like fireworks. We'd like your signature today, he added. He slid the contract forward. I signed.
Jake signed.
Grant signed. Just like that, it became real. As we stepped out of the building, sunlight washing over us, I felt 10 pounds lighter. Then my phone buzzed again. Dad. Ava, we need to talk.
Now.
Dad. Come home immediately. Dad, it's urgent. Jake glanced at me. You gonna answer? I slipped the phone into my pocket. I'll go, I said. But on my terms. He nodded. Want me to come with you? No, I said, smiling. This part? I want them to see with their own eyes. When I reached the house, Chloe was peeking through the curtains like she'd been tracking my location. Dad opened the door before I even knocked. Ava, where have you been? We heard something and… I lifted the signed contract. His voice froze. Chloe's smirk vanished. Mom covered her mouth. This, I said calmly, is what happens when you underestimate me. And their faces? Exactly the revenge I didn't even have to plan. Dad stared at the contract like it was written in another language. His jaw tightened, but he couldn't form a single word. Chloe blinked fast, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Mom, hands trembling, whispered, 40 million? I stepped inside calmly, setting the contract on the coffee table.
My hands didn't shake this time.
The girl they doubted wasn't the girl standing here anymore. Dad finally cleared his throat. Ava, we didn't know. We thought. You thought I wasn't capable. I finished for him. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. The silence said everything. Chloe crossed her arms, trying to recover her attitude. Okay, but how? You were broke just last week. I smiled lightly. Being broke isn't the same as being worthless. You assumed both. She shifted uncomfortably, eyes dropping. Dad rubbed the back of his neck, voice low. Maybe we pushed too hard. No, I said. You didn't push. You threw me out. There's a difference. Mom stepped closer, eyes glistening. I should have defended you. I should have said something. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Her voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw real regret, not pity, not judgment. Regret. I'm not here to fight, I said gently. I just wanted you all to see who I am now. Dad sank onto a chair, looking older than he had a week ago. Are you going to move back in? I shook my head with a small smile.
No. I've got my own apartment now.
My own life. My own company. I'm not coming back because I don't need to. Chloe's eyes widened. Wait, you already moved out? Yesterday, I said. Sign the lease this morning. Mom wiped her cheeks, trying to smile. I'm glad you're safe. Truly. I took a slow breath. Mom, I'm not cutting you off, but things won't be the same. Dad stood, shoulders stiff. Ava, if you ever need help. I raised an eyebrow. Help? Or control? His mouth opened and closed again. You're right, he admitted softly. We handled things wrong. You deserved more trust. Hearing it didn't change my past, but it felt like closing a door gently instead of slamming it. I just want you to remember one thing, I told them. You pushed me out thinking I was failing, but leaving this house is the best thing that ever happened to me. Mom nodded slowly. Dad lowered his head. Chloe looked away, cheeks red. I picked up the contract and walked toward the door. Take care of yourselves. I'll come by sometime. But for now, I'm building something bigger. As I stepped outside, the sunlight felt warmer than it had in years. Jake was waiting in his car across the street, grinning when he saw me. So, how'd it go? I slid into the passenger seat, confidence humming through me. Perfect, I said. They finally saw me. Jake chuckled. Ready to take over the world? I buckled the seatbelt. Oh, I already started. And as we drove toward the future, my heart felt calm, fierce, and completely free. The girl they pushed out became the woman they'll never overlook again.